What's up, everybody? In this video, we're going to be breaking down a low elo Valorant player's gameplay, showing all their mistakes, and giving you actionable advice so that you can take this VOD review and apply it to your games so you can start your climb out of elo hell and start to slowly but surely make it up to Immortal, Radiant, and even beyond. This was a viewer-submitted VOD, Killjoy Silver on Ascent, so let's jump right in and we're going to break it down and see what we find and see what things that this player needs to work on. Okay, reasonable turret spot. So before we even start this, there's a couple of things just based on the setup. Right now we have 2 people set up on A, 2 people set up on B, and 1 person mid, right? One of the problems is right now on B, we're rocking double Sentinel here, which is just not necessary. Like, one of the reasons that you would want to play a Killjoy in the first place is because Killjoy can solo hold this entire space, and it would actually be better suited to have the Sage on the other side. What's happening here is that you have 2 characters that are really good at stopping here, but they're not that great at retaking. So in a situation where they push A, you don't have the power to delay an A push, and then you don't have great retake utility. So that's the first problem. The second problem is the round's about to start and you did not buy anything at all. And this is one of the biggest mistakes you could possibly make in Valorant. Now, the reason that that's such a big deal is that oftentimes that first round could snowball into many more rounds, and you want to give yourself the best shot at winning that round, which means using every bit of your money that you possibly can, buying your full kit. And especially a character like Killjoy that has really powerful stall utility, you really want to be able to actually buy your kit here and actually put your setup down lane. So in a rush situation, you have your turret covering main, and then you have utility here where your alarm bot can trigger and then your mollies will go off, and then you can actually either kill people just with the utility down lane or potentially stop them from pushing here, and then you can control where they are. So like, you could play back a site. Like if we look at this position right here, you could play here about where you are using that piece of cover, and then you could peek off of your turret, and then if they try to go the other way, you could use your utility down lane. So that's just like one example of how much control you have over this entry and over this site if you buy your utility. And even if you don't want to buy that, right, it's better to buy like a sheriff here or pretty much anything than not spend your money. So make sure that you're spending your money in that first round. But let's continue. Let's see what you could do in this round to actually make a difference.
Help.
You actually had the right idea here when you were gonna go take over main, like when someone was here. If y'all are both sitting here on point, you can't just close this door and then not control anything, because someone could easily lurk through mid. And like, what happens here if someone just lurks through mid, waits here? You have no idea that they're there, and then when y'all try to rotate back, you're just gonna easily die to that person. So you really need to be able to quickly cover the information that is lost, right? The second this person dies here, you need to make sure that you have some way to gather information. If you had utility, you could easily put like an alarm bot mid. At the very least, it would prevent a mid lurk, right? But you know, there's a lot of mistakes that kind of compound on each other here. Now both of y'all are going to be in a retake A, just like we talked about. You don't have the utility for it. I mean, you don't have any utility at all, but it's going to be very, very hard for you to win this first round. It's pretty much already lost at this point.
Raid count in mezzo secondo, ma è impossibile.
Last player standing.
So like right here in particular, I think the first peek is okay. Secondary peek though, holding here is a little bit risky, because how the person is going to peek is they're going to step peek here and they're just going to be aiming down this power angle. And you don't really have to peek here because you have your turret that's still up. So you can just peek off of your turret's contact, especially with the intent to fight this, because we're fighting a very narrow angle. It's not the best case scenario here. I don't think it's a very particularly great fight to take here.
Last player standing.
Okay, we're going into the next round. So let's see what you do here. What in the world is going on here? What in the world? Okay, wait. Okay. So for one, the first spot that you had the turret in was amazing. This is a great spot for turret, and I think you should continue to put that there. In addition to that, putting turret lane is not very covered. It's very easy to destroy, and you can use your other bits of utility. Now, I can understand maybe you don't want to buy anything at all, but in a lot of cases, buying utility, even on save rounds for Killjoy, is really strong. Not entirely sure why you're 3 stacking with 2 Sentinels on B site, This is way too much hold power. We don't have any retake power. Once again, we're far too stacked. If in a situation like this where you can't convince your teammates to rotate off, I would rather you actually use your utility to control mid or control A, or just go somewhere else besides trying to triple stack here with 2 sentinels. It's pretty inefficient here. Right here, we're like looking this angle. For one, there's a wall. For two, you have a turret. So they're definitely not through. We know that for a fact. And if you're trying to challenge a potential person here, number one, probably not a great idea. You have no armor and a classic pistol. So if you want to gather info, you would want to jump or jiggle peek this. And the reason that you do that is so that you can get information without dying. You don't want to take a duel here if your goal is gathering info. I, for one, don't think that there's any point for you to gather info here. And we do the exact same mistake here in a second. So we don't know if there's anyone mid. We don't really have any idea. So for us to just walk past this, so the way that we walked past this angle, what you want to actually do is, instead of rounding, you could jiggle peek this or jump peek this, right? So you can gather information about mid before you commit. The other thing that you can actually do is take this one angle at a time. So instead of swinging this whole thing around, the idea is that you're setting up in one position, taking a step directly to the left and clearing this angle. Then you clear this angle, then you clear this angle, then you clear this angle. And the reason that you do that is so that you're not simultaneously peeking all these angles. Because right now, we rounded this corner, and if there's an enemy here, we're not ready for them. If there's an enemy here, we're kind of ready for them. Here, we're not ready for them. We don't even know if there's an immediate person directly next to us. We have no idea. And also, we're challenging a whole bunch of angles that we do not have a weapon that could actually fight that reasonably. The enemy won the first round. They could very easily be buying a Marshall. So there's not really a great reason for us to even take any of these long distance duels in the first place. A lot of unnecessary risk here for no reward and no gathering of information, at least not in a safe way.
Bot coming back.
Careful here.
Enemy spotted A.
Just because the enemies are showing presence in A main does not mean that enemies aren't mid, enemies aren't lurking. We walked into this room and that person actually killed both of y'all, and we didn't even give ourselves a chance to fight this person. Your teammates already have sight control. They don't need you right that second. You don't actually need to just run beeline, ignore all of cat, and go straight on point. So it's almost zero opportunity cost for you to play around a potential of an enemy being there that you don't have confirmation that they're not there. Okay, now we have all of your utility, and I think we have a phantom. Nice.
Placing swarm grenade. Barrier located.
Enemy spotted.
Me.
There. Help.
Spike planted.
Help.
No,
Eliminate.
Last player standing.
Micio, tienilo giù, il mouse.
Team Ace.
I would like to see you commit a little bit more to some of these sprays, for one. Especially in a situation like this, we're catching the enemy off guard. It's almost like we're scared. That's the best way to put it. And you don't want to commit because you're like, I'm afraid I'm going to die, right? You're like dipping your toes in, and you're almost not even giving yourself a chance to win these fights, because before you even commit to them, you're already running away. We are running away from this Reyna. She doesn't even have her gun out. We peeked with the intent to run away. I want you to peek with the intent to actually fight this person. You hear where they are. You know where they are. Peek and fight. We're not actually committing to any of these fights, and it's messing with our accuracy. It's messing with our control. We're not focusing on our aim. And I'm not saying that if you commit, you'll win. You're not even giving yourself a chance to fight. So one thing I'll say here is we actually have a Killjoy course on our website that I would highly suggest you check out, because it shows you all of the different setups that Killjoys can have. And it's so important to understand how strong these setups are. I actually put Killjoy as one of the best agents to play in low elo. I think it's one of the characters that can really climb you to some of the mid ranks incredibly easily. And with our rank improvement money back guarantee, if you don't climb, you don't pay. So what are you waiting for? Check it out right now in the links down below.
Alarm bot out.
Se non li ammazziamo.
Placing sentry.
Se non li ammazziamo, questi veloci come prima.
Enemy turret destroyed. Can't use that.
Right here, we're putting our molly, we're putting our alarm bot on the left side, and then we're putting our turret. The idea behind the alarm bot on the lane side with the mollies is that you get confirmation that enemies are committing to lane, and then you can actually flush them out with the mollies or even kill them. Also, interesting buy between a Guardian and light armor here. Most of the time, though, because you play off a lot of your utility, and the idea is that you get the enemies slightly weak with some of your turret and some of your alarm bots and things like that, you can get away with full armor plus a Spectre or something along those lines. You don't necessarily need to go for these super precise weapons. Having that resource is a really big deal with a character that really wants to play with the utility a lot, right? If you had your turret up, you could actually peek off the turret's contact instead, so you don't have to hold it yourself. You don't have to risk, because keep in mind, if you die, all your utility goes down. If you just got headshot right there and you're solo on B and then your opponents just kill you, 5-man execute, you just gave up the whole point for free. We don't have enough setup here to actually deny them. This person just comes swing through and we're not ready for it. Think about where we are on site. We don't have control of lane because our utility is not set up properly. We are not anywhere with cover. We could easily be playing here and actually be jiggling around that piece of location, or we could be playing here and we could be playing behind this box. Playing here means that we are 100% committing to anyone that challenges lane, which we do not have the utility set up to deny, and we're not even ready to fight this person because look where our crosshair. It's down here. We need to be up here. We need to be ready to fight if we're all in, right? Once again, are we standing still to take that fight? No, we're running and gunning to fight. We're not gonna actually win any of these fights if we're afraid to even take them. This is not always gonna be the way it is, but I really want you right now in your development to decide fighting or running. And if you're fighting, that doesn't mean you don't move, but your movement is with the intention to fight. You're moving to run at the same time that you're fighting. You're not even allowing a possibility for you to win these duels unless by pure chance, like really just pure chance.
Dio porco.
Bot coming back. Recalling my bot. Placing swarm grenade. Help. Swarm grenade out.
Spike down A.
Right here,
Dio porco.
we can't just walk through this. We need to imagine there's enemies here because we don't know if they are. So when we walk through this, we're peeking this without our gun being anywhere near where an enemy could be. And there is an enemy here. If we're gonna walk through this, we would want to take a step here, challenge this area, probably next to the box because that's the power angle. And even if there's no one there, we hold our crosshair here as we walk out. So we're not just running across this angle. If there's someone here, we want to be able to actually have a chance to fight them. These are mistakes that we're not even giving ourselves a chance to fight this person.
Turrets destroyed. Swarm grenade. Found them.
You put your turret here, the turret gets you that information. You don't need another piece of information. What you need is a piece of information that tells you to trigger the Molly's lane, not a piece of information to tell you someone is main, because that's what your turret is here for. They basically dispatched your whole bit of utility in a very simple way because of how you set it up. If we're not using our utility correctly, then we're not really even acting as a sentinel here. Because the whole point is that we can lock down the site all by ourselves. We can make it incredibly difficult for them to rush our point, and we can punish them if they do. But we need our setups correct. We need our setups to actually be reasonable. We're not accomplishing what a sentinel needs to be doing here. I'm seeing random throwing of mollies. I'm seeing mix-ups of the setup nonstop. We don't have a set setup. A lot of trial and error and guessing it. And I actually respect a lot of that stuff. I think it's actually good for you in your development as a player. But we need to know what is actually good and what it does. And we need to think about what our bits of utility actually do, rather than just kind of just dump them random places and just hope for the best.
No, ma sono bulli, sono B, porco Dio. Porco Dio.
Spike planted.
Lo so, ma sono B, guardati a destra. Dalle carte. Uno è sotto.
Last player standing.
What I would have said here is, instead of challenging this, you almost have your turret back, so you can use your turret to peek here, but being able to have eyes here, so if there's someone just holding, you know, main, it's gonna clear that, and then you can do that, and then you can potentially jump down.
Last player standing.
Yeah, so like it could potentially have gotten you information about that other person.
Bot coming back. You should run.
See, I like how you're taking that duel. That's a good duel take. So right here, we take this duel. I like how we peek in, we fight, that's good. We fight this person right here. So the second we have to reload, we should switch to our classic here. Try to make that a habit where you're swapping to your classic if you need to fight right away, and then get to actually full safety here. That person is reloading. Yeah, I mean, we're very, very lucky to be alive here. I think we're just gonna get stunned though. Yeah, we're not out of the effective range of the Killjoy lockdown yet.
Last player standing.
I don't know. So while we're walking here, we have our crosshair here. We need to have our crosshair here because we're not clearing anything here. But if someone just jiggle peeks here, if someone was here and jiggle peeked us, we would just die because we're not ready to take the fight. Okay, at this point, clearly the team is tilted. You're tilted. Nothing is making any sense. But I'm going to tell you right now that you didn't even really have a chance to win this game based on the way that you set up individually. Y'all had double Sentinel setup on B when the enemy consistently went A. Your setup wasn't consistent, and most of the time, it actually didn't accomplish much of anything. The turret was in a misplaced position. We didn't have anything protecting lane. We consistently force bought the Guardian, even though we never fought in positions that the Guardian would be decent in. We didn't put utility. Like, if we are going to double Sentinel setup, instead of guarding lane, maybe you have the Sage slow for lane. Maybe you just put one of your alarm bots mid. Maybe you set up in a different location. So there's consistent problems there, not to mention it's really showing when you were put in a retake situation over and over again that you were afraid to commit to a lot of these fights. Oftentimes you would start running away as you're fighting. You never really committed to hardly any fight except for like that one fight with the Reyna and Neon. You did it that one time. But throughout the majority of this game, you never committed to a fight. You were consistently running away, and we took a lot of unnecessary risk just randomly walking in challenging angles or not challenging angles while we're simultaneously peeking angles, or not playing around potentials where enemies could be. So there's a lot of pieces here, a lot of problems here, and I think there's a lot of things to work on. I would really suggest making it so that you can learn the setups. Once you learn them, you don't have to have that as something that you have to constantly think about. You're not trying to build a setup on the fly. You know the setup so that you have it and you know it's good and you know what it does, so then you can focus on other things in the game. But I know I went over a lot of different parts in this video, but if you have any questions, I definitely want you to tell us in the comments down below, and please do us a huge solid and smash that like and subscribe. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoyed the video. Check out the SkillCapped website right here, and we'll see you next time.